So in this video we're going to talk about, you've acquired all of your inputs for your stage. Now you need to get them to everybody else who wants to listen. So you got your mains, which is the big speakers at the front of the stage that you'll see on the left and right. You have sometimes fills, which you'll see dotted around a venue, or you'll see several speakers set along the floor of the stage facing out. And then you'll see monitors, which you'll see way more frequency than fills. These will be individual stage monitors for each musician so that they can hear the sounds that they need to hear. So people will often want to hear the drum kit minus some cymbals. They'll want to hear the bass guitar, the guitar. It's very preference based. You don't just want to send the main mix to everybody. We'll talk about monitors in another video. But yeah, we're talking about really the mains today. So the mains will typically have, it kind of starts with having a stick PA, as I call it. It's basically one speaker that goes up on a stick stand, and that stays there for the entire show. And these are adequate for buy up to 200 people, depending on what speakers you have. But where this starts to grow is you add a subwoofer to that, and now you can have better program audio. You can have your kick drum all of a sudden appear in the mix, and then typically we won't add a second stick stand to this. What we'll do is if we're going in the linear path, we'll go get a set of dual 15s or a three-way cabinet that has two big drivers and one little cone. And these cones do the high frequencies, and the big drivers do the low frequencies. And the bigger the driver, the better they are at low frequencies. And this goes to some extent with the high frequency drivers, but oftentimes what you'll see is you'll have a 1-inch driver or a transducer, and these will just provide all the audio. When you get into the higher frequency ranges, you can pack so much density into those that it's really not a problem, especially with the advent of neodymium magnets. Neodymium magnets have been huge for the world of portable audio. So instead of needing to have 15 speakers stacked up on a side, plus your subs, plus the tweeters, now you can have a line array. So these kind of look like a line. Everything on audio is pretty well, you look at it, it kind of looks like what it is. But a line array is basically a collection of speaker cabinets that's been designed to hang from a single point. And unfortunately, there's also another word called point source speakers. That's what they used to do before line arrays. It's basically a giant cluster of speakers, but the reason we call them line arrays is because they're in a line. I know, it's pretty circular, but it's a line. But anyway, the line array has revolutionized audio. It's made it so that you can stack 20, 30, 40 speakers in a matter of like 20 minutes, because what you'll do is you'll have all the cases in rolling cases, and then you'll roll the case under this line array section. You'll have a chain hoist come pick it up, cart rolls away, new cart rolls in with new speakers, and you just rinse and repeat. And all you need for a lot of modern line arrays are power and your XLR connection from your mixer. This means that depending on the size, you can either just have a couple Edisons running to it, you can have a SOCO running to it, but some of the larger, some of the older technology line arrays, they don't have the amplifiers integrated into them. They're passive line arrays. This simplifies things on large scales but complicates things on small scales. It's a trade-off. The passive line arrays are lighter, so you can generally stack more cabinets, but this is really not an issue until you're stacking more than 20, 14, 12. It depends on the system. It depends on the engineers and the cabinets. In RCF's case, the 8-inch cabinets, those you can stack up to 12 cabinets per line array, and they're totally active. So what an active speaker is you take your amplifier, or the amplifier is integrated into the speaker. So you just take your XLR connection with your program audio and you plug that in, and then you plug in your power. And in the nature of audio is it's very spiky in nature, but typically you can run between 8 and 10 cabinets on a single circuit, and for a lot of shows that's more than adequate. And even just having a second cable run up is no problem. The alternative there's so many alternatives, but there's one that sticks out: the passive system. So the passive system, you will have your cabinets in parallel up until you need them to go back to your amplifier. It's typical numbers between 2 and 4 cabinets. This is speaker dependent. The L-Acoustic K2 cabinets, those you can only have 2 speakers in parallel, but their smaller series you could have up to 4, and they had speakers that you could also even do up to 8. So in order to calculate that, how many speakers you have to work with, you first need to look at your speakers, figure out the ohmage. Then you need to look at your amplifier to see how many ohms you can tolerate before it begins to crash. A typical value for a professional audio amplifier will be between 2 and 4 ohms. Some can go down as low as 1, half an ohm, but those sorts of amplifiers are pretty specialty. Typically in pro audio, we want to be in the 4 ohm region, because that gives us plenty of voltage to go across 200 feet of cable, but going the distance is neither here nor there for the most part, because your subs are kicking, the amps are going to be pushing out upwards of 50 volts. 50 volts goes into 4 ohms. That works out to be about 2.5 amps. Or I could be completely wrong, but honestly, the electrical characteristics of a running PA system, or on the high side of a running PA system, don't matter at all, because you're not pushing pure tones, so you don't have continuous things going on. And I know that every musician thinks they play continuously, but when we look at it in terms of frequency components, it's not. It's all over the place. Every inflection you see involves thousands of frequencies. So you really don't see that on the electrical side. So cabling, 14 gauge will do, 12 gauge is better. You don't really need 10 gauge until you're doing car audio. But that's this long rambly rant on PAs. Oh, but did you subscribe yet? Because we still have to talk about subwoofers. Thanks for watching.